People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. I hope you're all doing well and safe. I hope you can all hear me well. Obviously, you've seen the title. It's the tactical review, or my tactical review, based on what we've seen in relation to the FA Cup game between Arsenal and Newcastle. I hope you all can hear me well, because I've moved the mic for purposes of the tactics board. But yeah, I'm sure you've seen all the videos, or if you haven't, please go back and watch over them. I'm not going to circle back over the same points. I've offered my points at length. I feel obviously there was encouraging performances from a number of individuals. For me personally, I think Pablo Mari deserves a lot of plaudits. I feel David Luiz, based on that game, also. Tierney, obviously, in a positive way. Do I need to sit here and talk about Tierney? We'll get onto him, but he's a genuine option down that side. And when you look at Aubameyang, Aubameyang's, from what I've seen, Aubameyang only seems to come alive when certain sort of men are on the ball. And it's like with Tierney, like for the goal, he knew that ball would come in. And for me, like in that game, which could be said for Tierney all season, he puts in a number of good crosses, and there's nobody darting to the near post. There's nobody simply gambling, and we could add 5 to 10 goals collectively as a team if we had that. You look at Reece Nelson as well. Remember when Reece Nelson pulled, like, Tierney cut it back, and Reece Nelson made that run, and his first touch didn't help him. Stuff like that. I want to see more late runners, more people darting across the 6-yard box, more people just simply being in the box when we're putting in crosses, or these lovely whipped little low ones that we should, as attacking players, love. Not to go over the game again, but as you lot saw, we like I said, Pablo Mari played well, David Luiz played well, Kieran Tierney played well, obviously Aubameyang scored. Xhaka, for me, Xhaka changed the game in central midfield. All the subs that came on added something. Lacazette got an assist, but forget that. You look at one of the goals. What goal was it? I think Smith. I think the second goal, actually. Lacazette just wins the ball back, and it goes to Saka. You see Saka give it to Aubameyang and whatnot, but Lacazette added something. Xhaka added something. Saka added something. Smith Rowe obviously scored, and the sending off incidents as well. I think he's got to learn to fight his case a bit more with the ref, because it seemed like he accepted that when it was wrong. The subs came on and added stuff. Nice for Aubameyang to get a goal, but in short, we made it harder than it needs to be. We really struggled to break them down. Second half, you saw it when the subs were made. And again, a bit of it might be because Newcastle were tired. You started to see us, have more of a go. And I think today, more than anything, I don't think El Nene or Joe Willock played appalling. I think Joe Willock weren't quite at the races, and El Nene was average. But I'm not using this to get at them, but I think games like this highlights once again that we need a number 10, or for me, a number 8 or 8.5, or 2 number 8s that want the ball, in the sense of, it's not El Nene's skill set. He's quite limited. We need midfielders when we're playing against a flat back 5. We need our midfielders to dictate the game. David Luiz and Maria are doing more playmaking than our midfielders, and again, that's causing our you're seeing Aubameyang go out wide. You're seeing him play through you're seeing him drop deep. If you're Newcastle and you're playing a back 5, you don't mind that at all. Pepe's playing well, but whenever he's receiving the ball, it's with his back towards it. So he's going to run into a crowd of Newcastle shirts, and he's receiving it at the halfway line. So I think this game showed that some of these midfielders, when we're expected to get through a lot of doggy work and not have possession, they're useful. But when we need to take it to the opposition a bit more, we need better. We know, obviously, we made it harder than it needed to be. We played an extra half an hour more so than we needed to. But again, we wasn't really creating chances in the first half. There was an improvement in the second, like I said, with the introduction of Xhaka, of Smith Rowe, of Lacazette, etc., people. And, when you play a back 5, you probably, if you can't go through the middle, you have to go out wide. And both our goals more or less came from wide areas or started out there. So it's lovely to eventually get the win. It's lovely to be through to the next round of the cup. It's lovely to not go out at the first round of asking. Happy to see, Pablo Mari. The jury's still out for me with him, not because I don't think he's a good player. It's that, this is the first sort of extended run in the team I'm seeing from you. So, and I'm encouraged with what I'm seeing. My challenge to Marie is, can you continue this sort of thing? Smith Rowe, can you keep doing this as well? Xhaka came off the bench. Can you do that from the start? Lacazette, keep going, because Lacazette might not have scored. He got an assist. For me, it will go unnoticed, but he's actually won the ball back for the second goal, where it eventually ended up with Saka. And then eventually, Xhaka and Tierney played a 1-2, and then, Aubameyang got the second. But bringing out the tactics board, and it looks like a keeper doesn't want to be a part of it, people. Apologies for that. Allow me to pick it up. 1 second. So like you saw, people, again, I've tried to make it a bit easier by keeping both teams in their own half. Apologies as I try and do this. So like, yeah, you obviously know Newcastle are in the blue. You saw a back five. Obviously, you saw Hendrick and their left back Paul Dummett get forward a bit more, but generally they had this, and you had Andy Carroll. You know, I think David Luiz did well versus Andy Carroll. You know, I think Andy Carroll had a good game, but clearly David Luiz were told get tight to Carroll, and I think he got tight very well. I think he followed him like a rash. You know, he was onto him. He was getting tight. He was winning his balls in the air. I really liked what David Luiz came with. But generally, you saw this from Newcastle. 5-4-1, 11 men behind the ball. You know, Andy Carroll even had to do a lot of defensive work. He should have scored, but he done a lot of defensive work. I think he played quite well. And I think, again, this is what I mean. When a team is playing like this and we need to get our men forward, like our front three's probably here, you know, it's not just our mid. We'll get onto everything, but again, it shows how limited man are. You get it? We got our 10 at the time. You know, it's William. You know, William's quite anonymous here. So again, there's problems. This is Newcastle's player, so let's remove him. And this is what I mean, you know. You're going to have your fullbacks quite high. Cedric could have got forward a bit more. And I will say as well, people, I felt in the first half we were struggling to play 5-yard passes. And it's like when we're playing passes, like it wasn't Luiz, but to make the example, you know, let's just say the fullback is making a run here. You got to play it in front of him, you know, give him something to run onto, because as we know, a pass, every time you pass a football, you're telling your teammate what you want him to do. If you give him a bad pass, you're limiting his options. And I felt sometimes when we could play it in front, and again, it weren't Luiz, actually. I'm just highlighting it because he's nearer to him. I think we're playing it behind our fullback, so they're having to go backwards and stuff. And not just them, I think that could be said. We really struggled with quality 5-yard passes. Joe Willock and El Nene in particular. But like I'm saying, you know, my centre halves, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Marie and David Luiz throughout the game. You know, they're trying to spray it. You know, they're trying to find people. But again, my centre half shouldn't be the most creative in the team. And with that, I need my centre mids to offer something. You know, there's no use playing 5-yard passes, playing passes like this. You know, everybody getting a touch is great. I'm seeing Luiz. Luiz is saying, forget giving it to you as a midfielder. Let's give it straight to the fullback and then let's run. We all know there was a number of times Tierney's putting in crosses in this area, you know, and underhit crosses, and they're not being taken advantage of. Like in the first half, you know, first touches were kind of harming us. In the same way, I think Smith Rowe's poor touch in the fake red card incident summed up where he was. You know, if Reece Nelson had at least 2 glorious chances, one where he should have taken it on his left, he's tried to control it with his right, it's gone out of play. The other where Tierney set him up. William, obviously, you saw him thunder over the bar, but these were the only opportunities. You know, Aubameyang hit the target with the Bradker, but we didn't work the Bradker enough. And again, you know, Pepe huffed and puffed, but again, it comes down to creating. I think we really struggled. I think it's no coincidence, and I'll get onto it. When Smith Rowe and these players came, you started to see triangles, but I think we struggled. And obviously, if you're Newcastle and you're playing a back 5 people, and you know, Aubameyang, this man here, I know it's getting quite complicated, is having to drift out wide and drop deep. You know, if their winger is having to receive it on the halfway line, you're doing your job because you're just going to hold your shape. And again, we're running into blind alleys, people. You know, it's no coincidence both our goals came from wide areas, you know, primarily on the right-hand side for the second and the first. Well, no, the second came via the left-hand side with Tierney. The first one came from the right-hand side, people. So again, we've got to learn how to break down units. And again, I do think some of it, again, we could do it with coaching. We could be a bit more proactive, but I don't think we're going to make massive improvement until we get better players in that regards. Like, I think the game also highlighted how limited Joe Willock is and the need for Joe Willock to go somewhere and play continuous football. You know, he puts in a shift, he runs about, he gets busy, but we need a bit more quality than that. I think there is a player in Joe Willock, but you know, we need to probably facilitate a loan for him to get that. And at least for the last 6 months or so of the season, I don't think he's going to get the loan because we're quite light in midfield. So, and it doesn't make sense selling Joe or loaning out Joe and all of these sort of things, people. And like I said, it comes down to basic triangles, people. And again, it's like the Chelsea goal where Saka scored or Smith Rowe, one of them, people. It's just a simple bit of play, really and truly. Initially, Smith Rowe actually wins it back. Smith Rowe's come and injected some energy, you know, initially not to scale, but it's the same old thing, people. Smith Rowe's actually won it back initially. He's given it to Saka, again, not to scale. He's given, like you saw, people, Smith Rowe won it back initially. He's giving it to Saka. Saka's clipped it forward to Lacazette. And again, the third man run, this is all you need to do. When you make a pass, don't admire it. In that time, Smith Rowe simply just made that advancing run. Now, obviously, the defenders aren't here. By then, Lacazette's found him, and it's a lovely shot with his left foot, right foot. Sorry, he's caressed it into the far post. But and forget to scale. This is what you need. You know, these three substitutes, basic movement. You saw when Saka came on, he started having opportunities, pass and move. You know, playing 1-2s. We're playing 1-2s. Men are running in behind, stuff we didn't see. That's how the first goal come about, people. Simply put, you know. Simply put. And again, also not to scale, and I give credit to Lacazette, you know, Paul, what's his name, Kieran Clark, who again, I didn't think it was a penalty first time round, but watching the game again, he's very lucky. He's done the dark arts thing. It's like he's acted like he can't see Aubameyang, like, where's Aubameyang? And he's tripped him up with his right foot. Very smart bit of play. Dark arts. Very smart bit of play from Kieran Clark. I don't understand how with VAR he's got away with that, but he did. But you could say karma almost got him, because, you know, by then, Newcastle, for me, they're starting to become tired. You know, I don't think Yedlin's truly in the game when he's come on at that point as well, people. They're getting caught. And again, not to scale, people, not to scale once again. I'm limited with the resources I have. But once again, they're trying to play out from the back. I think Dommett is actually caught, and it won't be spoken of, but Lacazette actually wins the ball back. And for me, Lacazette should score more goals, but this is what people underappreciate. You know, Lacazette wins it back for us in the final third. Lacazette's actually won it back. Eventually, it's fallen to Bukayo Saka. And if you remember, Saka's actually switched it all the way over to this side with Aubameyang. Now, Aubameyang, it's in the box, sorry, again, not to scale. Now, Aubameyang's just kept it alive and held it up. And then you saw he went back home, people. He went back home to Kieran Tierney. You know, and he's continued his run. By now, he's still on side. He simply continued his run. In that time, Granit Xhaka's arrived on the scene. You know, my man's in no man's land. And it's a lovely 1-2 between, a basic 1-2 between Kieran Tierney and Granit Xhaka, who gave it back to him in the space. Again, for the first goal, near enough identical, 1-2s and movement. You know, Tierney puts it across, and Tierney finally gets an assist for someone. He should have about 10 assists in the league for me, minimum. But he always puts that sort of ball in. Of course, it's lovely for Aubameyang to score in open play. That's probably, obviously, we need, he might not be in form, but typically it's looking like it's going to added on time. Well, it looks like it's going to penalties and things, and you need to keep Aubameyang on the field. Clearly, he started for his confidence. Like if Aubameyang was fit and firing, maybe Lacazette would have got a chance to retain his form, or maybe Eddie Nketiah would have got minutes. So I'm happy Aubameyang got to score. You know, I'm happy Tierney played well, encouraging performances, and very happy for David Luiz and Marie. And again, it complicates matters, because who is the centre-half pairing now? Do you go with Gabriel? Do you and Gabriel back in the team with a David Luiz or a Holding or a Marie? Is it Marie and Luiz? These are the problems we need throughout the whole team. You know, it's too easy for me, for Arteta to pick the team. He needs problems. And I think he got that. Obviously, Smith Rowe encouraging all the subs for me. The subs changed the game for me. You know, David Luiz, you know, I think ironically, I think three of the back four were our better players. You know, I think David Luiz and Marie were very good. I think Tierney played well, like you saw. Leno didn't have much to do, but you have to hail him up for the save he made, of course. You know, Xhaka, Smith Rowe, Lacazette, Bukayo Saka came on and changed the game in their own way as well. Personally, I felt, people. So while we played an extra half an hour that we didn't need to do, while I wanted to see a bit of a faster start, you know, if that was in the league, some of those things, if it happens in the league, we don't get anything. You know, we don't get an extra half an hour in the league. You know, that's a point, if anything. And obviously, if some buts don't change the game, but you know, we needed to wake up at large periods. And if Andy Carroll did score, it's a different sort of game. So my point to Arsenal is don't always wait a goal down to wake up. And fortunately, it didn't happen in this game. So it is what it is. Obviously, again, my main point is, for me, the midfield. You know, in fact, my main point is our goals came from wide areas. We finally broke them down. There was a bit of movement with the substitutes, but it showed how limited some of the midfielders in our team are. And it's not a criticism of them. They just are limited, people. Statistically, if you allow me to share the screen for you guys very quickly, just to, you know, freshen things up and give you lot something else to look at, because I'm sure you love my face, but you're tired of it, people. You know, courtesy of Orbino, Opta, Shakwa, and all of those sort of things, people. With that, Newcastle have failed to score in 7 of their last 9 matches against us. Tierney, I'm sure he ended up with 10, but it says he's created 6 chances. 6 chances created in one game is the most by an Arsenal player in a single game this season, people. Of course, obviously, there was extra time to Tierney's benefit, but we all know Tierney puts in a number of balls and there's no gambling. I also feel not really any of the fringe players, they didn't take their opportunities. Joe, Nelson, William, El Nene wasn't bad. I didn't feel, but he didn't take his chance. Cedric, definitely. None of you took your chance to kind of complicate things for Mikel Arteta and his team selection. You know, Steve Bruce has had a torrid time really playing Arsenal, people. They've lost 12 games and he's won none of the 16 times he's come here. He's failed to score in 13 of those. You know, Leno deserves a clean sheet. He gets his first clean sheet in his 10th appearance at the Emirates Stadium this season. Better yet, late than never. And he deserved it based on that save. Arsenal have beaten Newcastle the last 4 times they've been drawn against each other in the FA Cup. You know, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the first Arsenal player to score in 4 consecutive FA Cup appearances since Sylvain Wiltord in March 2001. And Pierre, on that, you know, Aubameyang has played in just 4 FA Cup ties and scored 6 goals. Andy Carroll, like I said, I think he, apart from the miss, and that's all that will keep him up, I think he played quite well for Newcastle. I just feel Newcastle let themselves down for the goals, and they also didn't have much about them going forward beyond the occasional chances in the second half. Definitely in the first, they didn't really offer nothing. And I do think as well, Almiron played quite well defensively for them as well, as did Isaac Hayden. But with that, Andy Carroll had more defensive clearances than any other player on the pitch at a period where he had 4. I think now we've got 10 clean sheets in 27 games. You know, chances created from open play for Arsenal. Tierney's created 27 chances from open play, which again, you know, it highlights how good Tierney is, but it highlights how much we need to improve. We all know fullbacks are... Apologies, people. We all know fullbacks are part of the modern game and stuff. When you look at Liverpool, they rely heavily on their fullbacks. But something makes me a bit uncomfortable. Not that Tierney doesn't deserve to be up there, but it's like, you know, we're seeing it yesterday. If it's not coming from substitutes or moments of brilliance or fullbacks, again, we're not really creating. And I would like to see centrally midfield improve in that regards, really. Specifically the men in the pivot behind the number 10 or whatever. You know, William was anonymous in that game and he's a poor player shot on confidence, which isn't a good cocktail. But like you can see, Kieran Tierney's created 27 chances from open play, Danny Ceballos with 20, Pepe with 19, Aubameyang and Lacazette with 17, Bukayo Saka with 16, Bellerin's actually got 15, Williams got 14, Willett's got 13, you've got Smith Rowe and Cedric Suarez with 11, Eddie Nketiah with 10. Now, this is all comps. Like I said, people, I said this earlier. I think, yeah, man, Tierney should have 10 assists or something this season. I need to see more runs across the 6-yard box. You know, I don't see enough runs across the 6-yard box. I don't see any late runs. I don't see any near posts. I don't see anyone hanging on far posts. This is how you get some, you know, this is how you can get additional goals. I don't see anybody gambling. I also think maybe to a degree, this is for another vid, but maybe it sealed the fates that Reece Nelson and Joe Willett need to go out on loan. I'll speak about that in another vid, so I'm going to skim past that. But as you can see, these are my summarized thoughts. You know, I think Newcastle's only task when they had the ball in their back 5 was just to bang it into the channels for Joe Linton or centrally for Andy Carroll and look to build off those, which it didn't work because our centre halves did quite well. I think they worked hard, and I think whatever system they've worked on all week, I think, you know, it worked for them, and they're unfortunate. You know, I think they didn't let themselves down in that regard. Just stupid mistakes at the end. First half, again, I don't think we created enough. We needed more quality in the final third. We know with the changes made, we was going to lose a lot of fluidity, a lot of zip, a lot of energy, a lot of dynamism that's been there, people, especially when you finally settled on an 11 and we've got, you know, the players are confident and playing well. You know, a lot of the players that I feel started didn't look necessarily confident, and I couldn't understand why, because collectively we're feeling good as a club. You've got an opportunity to play, you know. That's it. You know, last 10 of the first half, I think we started to look a bit more dangerous and cut them up, and it almost offered a blueprint, like we were starting to trouble them down wide areas. But I think we were self-engineering our own mistakes, and that's where, you know, Joe Willett lost the ball in midfield a couple of times, and there was counter-attacks. Like I said, 5-yard passes, we're putting too much on it, or we're playing it behind people. It didn't quite have that gloss on it, sort of thing. Like I said, for 1-0, they were giving the ball away quite cheaply. Karma almost got Clark because it's his mistake that Lacazette pounces upon, and it eventually ends up in the back of the net with Smith Rowe. Yeah, it's Clark's. Well, no, sorry, that's meant to be for the second goal. For the first one, it's lovely play from Bukayo Saka, Smith Rowe and Lacazette, but you get the point. We're starting to create from wide areas. We're starting to attack the spaces. We're starting to make runs beyond the ball. And as you can see, you know, basic 1-2s for the second goal as well, which was lovely. 1-2 and move. As simple as that. That's the basic premise to attacking football. You know, you have to don't just make a pass and admire it and think, what a lovely pass, carry it on. Because Smith Rowe could have done that. He actually wins the ball back for his goal. He could have just thought, I've won the ball back, let me let them man do their thing. But he already knows with Saka and Lacazette that, he's got a good building relationship with them, and he knows he makes that third man run, and he knows it's coming, sort of thing. And that's what I wanted to see. Like I said, we struggled for rhythm and the energy we've had previously. The fringe players didn't take their chances. As I've already made the point about the passing, I did think Aubameyang should have had a penalty. Big up the substitutes. I think Xhaka in particular, we won't get the plaudits because he didn't score. He weren't involved like that in the goals. I know he played a 1-2 with Tierney, but I think he really changed the game, which could tell you how bad or good we are, really. But it is what it is. Our coach, Mikel Arteta, has spoken about Willian and the rest of it, people. He said some decisions weren't the best, but we're going to keep trying with him. He's showing in training how much he wants it. When asked on his form, he said, well, I think he's improving. The other day, he came on really well against West Brom. He's been out as well because he was ill, so he missed almost 2 weeks of training and football. And today, it was the first time that he had started the game. He had some good moments and he had some other moments where he needed more help sometimes. Personally, I hear that. You want to protect him. I do think that, even Reece Nelson, I think Nelson was poor, but he hasn't played since the Rapid Vienna game, and Willian's been out. So you're going to lack a lot of fluidity and match rhythm and the rest of it. But at the same time, I just think he was a poor player. And I do think the energy is a bit different with Arteta and other players. Really, it's a feel-good factor. We don't need to rub anyone out, but I think you've got to take him out of the team. It's an expensive free transfer. I don't think he had any good moments, but you're trying to save face. Apparently, he said he's showing in training how much he wants it. He's got some highlights, and it's about keeping the confidence on him. We know the player that he is, and it's about time. And it's about time to show it. And he's not showing it, so drop him. We're at that point now with his confidence. We've been there with Pepe. We've been there with Oba. We've been there with Lacazette. They've all come out of it the other side to a degree, more so Lacazette. Willian's got to be dropped. I hear what you're saying about training, but it's about the matches as well. And the matches, regardless if you play him in the 10, like yesterday, you put him on the left, you put him on the right, he's quite woeful. He wasn't involved in the game, really wasn't showing for it, in my opinion. Huffed and puffed, blazed over again. I do think Willian is going to get scapegoated, and people are, got their pitchforks out whenever he plays poor, but I just don't buy any of this. He also bigged up the young players as well. He said, I think we have a great mixture. We cannot put too much responsibility on them. We have to build it slowly because we have talent, we have the right characters, and we have them in different positions as well, which is helpful and promising for the future, which is true. Saka, Smith Rowe, all of these guys can play in a couple of roles. And things like that. When in relation to the injury about Martinelli, he said, I hope so, in relation to find out about Monday, when you probably have to wait 24 to 48 hours for test results, scan results. He said, we really want to know what's going on. He's a character that says he wants to play the next match, that he doesn't care, that he can handle the pain, but I don't know. Hopefully there's nothing too serious, but to start with, it didn't look good. So we hope for the best. We're prepared for the worst. And again, Martinelli, he's a young, naive teenager. He needs saving from himself. He's always going to say he's fit and firing and ready. So we're hoping for the best. And obviously, this is what he said about Martinelli as well. I'm gutted. I was in my office before the game, and one of the coaches came in and said that Gabby hurt himself, that he twisted his ankle. I went to the medical room and he was in tears. It didn't look good. He was in a lot of pain, and we're going to have to see how it is. He was in pain, so I imagine we're not going to have good news with him. So again, he's probably going to be out for a while. Again, we hope for the best. And tomorrow we'll look at that. In relation to Partey, I'm glad that Partey weren't involved if he's not fully ready, because we're going to need him against Crystal Palace and beyond, people. He said we assessed the situation, how much he's training, he's done, and the boxes he's ticked. He was still a little bit short. Hopefully on Thursday we might have him available in the squad. Let's see how he trains the next couple of days. He's been really good at the moment. So we'll have to see what happens in relation to that, people. For Smith Rowe as well, he said he's never been sent off before, and I couldn't, Smith Rowe, the one thing I'd say about you, if VAR saved you, but if you're innocent, make more of a meal, man. You kind of looked guilty. Not that I knew you wasn't guilty, but he's doing all of this and stuff, and like he said, it's the first time it's happened for him. Fight your case a bit better. For Granit Xhaka, impressive performance. I'm not going to read out these articles, but he more or less gave praise to Aubameyang for his goal and gave praise to Smith Rowe and what he's doing as a young player. Like I said, you know, we've still got to wait for Smith Rowe. He's got to keep the challenge to Smith Rowe is to keep up this consistency. You know, 3.5 games now. He come on a sub in this game, so we could call it 4. You know, he's getting closer to what I say in that 10 games. I need to know what I'm getting from you. He's gonna go through losses of form, of course. So we need to not put too much expectation. I'm seeing too much of let's not sign this guy because we've got Smith Rowe. It's a squad game. Let's let him keep developing and whatnot, and then see. But he definitely had a good game, and that's all I can say from a tactical point of view, people, really and truly. So please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you subscribed if you haven't already. That's the only things I've got to speak about, people. I've appreciated having you guys for the 24 odd minutes, 25 minutes we're here, but all good things have to come to an end. So for now, DG, I'm out. God bless. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't leave without doing that, people.